Okay, we got our next project here. This is our 2000 F450 service truck with a 6,000 pound auto crane on it. We used it for sawmilling for many years. When it wasn't sawmilling, and once we had built the lean-tos, it tended to sit out under the lean-to, and so it just sits for a good bit of its time. So if you watch the channel, we've got bigger cranes. There's the jib for one of our bigger cranes now. I need to get put back on. So this thing's got a couple issues. It was a good running truck. We'd drive it anywhere. But that brake on that wheel is dragging right there, so I got to get those wheels pulled off and check on that brake. We've got rust problems because you can see through the door and through the bottom of the bends, and you can even see up into the bed there a little bit. So it was a Northern Indiana truck, so it's rusty. Before we bought it, the crane had a bunch of work done on it. So it's new cable, and it was in great shape. Needs cleaned. The cab's in good shape. The engine's in good shape. Hydraulic pump, all that seems to work well. The engine had work done to it before we bought it again. So we've done very little to this truck other than maintain it. And I think we did put front brakes on it and rear brakes on it when we bought it. And big thing is that brake, the dipstick tube is rusted through right by the exhaust manifold where it gets all the heat, and the bend floors. So I was gonna just ignore the bend floors, sell it as is, just a crane truck. But I want to try my hand at placing some metal and re-flooring this bend real quick. So I've got some steel sheet outside, and I'm going to give one of these Diablo steel demons a try. See if we can't cut some steel sheet. It's almost 1/8 inch, so it's thicker, a lot thicker than any of this stuff. And see if we can't plate in this floor. It'd be a little higher up probably. But gonna be interesting welding some of this crap. It's so rusty, but we'll give it a try. It'll be better. It's not going to be like new, but it'll be better. So that's where we're going to go. Hope you guys enjoy watching this. Well, we'll be like Matt's Off-Road Recovery and give a little weather update. It is 45 degrees right now with a feels like of about 38. It's about 2 in the afternoon. I just got the boiler good and loaded up. She had actually just ran out of wood and gave me the fire out, to where water temp dropped down to 160. So I think it was 4 o'clock yesterday. It was 4 p.m. yesterday when I loaded this thing up. So high of 45, lows of I think around 32. I think we got just down to freezing last night. And it made it almost 24 hours on a full load of wood. So not too bad for the boiler this year. So I need a 20-inch wide by about a 34-inch piece. I think I'm going to go ahead and rip 2 20s out of this thing. And we'll do that. And then I can cut them to length as needed inside where it's a lot warmer. Hopefully. Let's see how this works. Nothing like a good old used oil filter to prop things up. working pretty well, I tell you what. Threw a little chunk of metal at me. Caught me in the neck. But that looks nice. One piece down. Blade still looks good. I call that a success. The weather inside is a nice 62 degrees with a nice warm floor. But if you have to lay down and get under this truck, it's not too bad to lay on. I can't believe how many years I spent wasted, or how many hours I spent through the years wasting wood in that wood stove over there. And it never would get the shop this comfortable. The old Cobalt with a 650 does pretty good, but she can't get everything. The newer ones with 1,000 foot-pounds, I think, here. Little bit better. See if some penetrating oil will help us. Nope. Got that one. Smoke. Got that one. A little bit of penetrating oil and some hammering. One more to go. There we go. Lube it up. Hit it. Down to 2 bars. Second, hit it again. almost all of them. Well, heat. I'll bring you back. 2 minutes of heat. And let's see if we can repeat. There. Not gonna touch that one. Been in the mud, dirty. This is gonna be the tough one. All right, I've run them out about 3 times and run them back in now, where I can run them all the way back in by hand without having to use the cheater. This one here has got some damage right there on that seal. I'm not sure. This is a reman caliper. I'm not sure where it came from, but not the best. Actually, when I ran them all the way out, I picked that dust seal up and shot a little penetrating oil up under there. Because I'm thinking maybe they just sat, and this one here has maybe gotten a little rust down where this dust seal's bad. So I don't think it'll be a problem if the truck's being used regularly. It's just if it sits for long periods of time, it might want to freeze up again. Have to get them out and exercise them more often. All right, got it rough bolted on. When I was looking at it, I saw that little lock tab, and I thought this whole assembly had to come off. And I was trying to pry from the top at first until I saw that little tab right there. Actually, on at least the right rear, and I imagine it's probably inverted on the other, you pry on the bottom where there are no tabs, so the caliper rotates out and then down and out. So just FYI, something I had to learn the hard way. Okay, now let's see if we can get some of this stuff roughed out. Let's see, sort of started a little cut right here and then got up into decent metal, and try to cut this away here. do better dragging, but I don't have anywhere to start from. So. Too rusty. Got it. Boom. Right there, hanging. Well, we'll just do some trim. Yeah, I'll put the oil back on. If I can find it. There it is. All right, there's our starting point, I guess. Start putting in new steel. First thing I'm gonna do is work on this crossbar. I cut out all this rotten stuff. Left this upper lip. Where the doors attach is thicker. It's rusty, but not as bad. You can kind of see right there. It's a good bit thicker where the doors attach, luckily. So there's still material there. Don't have to mess with those. I got a bar. It's not quite full height, which it doesn't matter. This bend's gonna end up a little shorter. So I'm gonna try and get this bar put in next. Okay, let's see if we can get that. I'm gonna move this light. There. Wow, blew through the tube. Have to turn the wire feed down just a little bit. Goodness. Sides. Dang, blowing through again, I tell you what. Then in the ends, I am not particularly skilled at welding thin metal. I wish the tube would have been a fudge longer. Pop this loose. Rusty. Working my way up. Goodness, that looks horrible. Looks bad, but it's solid. fingers. Alright, I'm gonna do some welding. I'll bring you back. Okay, made this piece. Goes in here, fills this gap pretty well. Get it tacked in. That in. Alright, before we do anything, we need to make sure the door closes. I'll get you guys off the door. Still closed. Might have to grind that just a fudge. Good shape. Alright, nothing special. I'm just going to burn wire, fill this gap, and struggle probably, but weld that seam. I'll bring you back, show you what it looks like. Alright, hope you guys can see something. I'm just going to try to tack this plate in. Let's see if we'll focus it down here. See if we can get to just tack some of this rusty stuff for a minute. Then I'll drop in some filler. That ain't bad. Try over here. Hopefully we'll do that. That's doable. Get her tacked to the tube. Moment of truth, will she hold? Oh. Alrighty. Alright, so we got gaps everywhere, which I'm not really worried about. No crack too big, no gap too wide, as they say. Amazing blazing. So we've got strips to cut. Basically, we're going to place our strips just like so. Another one over here up front. Might have to cut a few more strips. We will just strip our way all the way around here. Weld to this good metal up higher. Get away from this rusty stuff. Good metal weld on the bottom. And we will call that a day. Alright, start burning wire again. Alright guys, yesterday I sprayed some OSPO on everything. So I did get a piece of C-channel welded in there. Didn't have any angle. Phospho, it is phosphoric acid, I believe. And it does leave some white residue behind, but it does do a pretty good job at converting rust to a mostly inert material. As you can see, it does leave some black. Let's see, is that still wet? Looks wet, but is not. So that is ready for some primer. So I sprayed basically all the bends, hosed down all the rusty areas just to try and slow the rust. Some of it's so thick it's not going to matter, but every little bit helps. We'll put down some red lead paint in the bottom of that, and maybe even, yeah, we'll just red lead the inside of the bends. And then I picked up some hunter green just to spray the outsides to clean them up a little bit. So I will get going on that. I call this stuff red lead. It doesn't really have lead in it anymore, I don't think. It's just the term I use for it. It's just red oxide metal primer. So we will lay down some of that and hopefully try to keep down some of the rust. Yep, I'm that horrible person that used a screwdriver for a stirring stick. Big screwdriver at that. Okay. We're just going to dab this stuff on. Again, we're just trying to help keep down some of the rust. I'll vacuum this thing. There is still some flake on the inside. All right. That out to the floor. Clean that up later. Let's get this up out of the way. I'm gonna red lead my harness for my light. Goodness. Stuff stinks. Should have done this years ago, probably. This truck had a good bit of rust on it, and I just hated messing with the rust. And now I'm doing it right before I sell it. Which this bin was always the best. The other three were in pretty rough shape. All right, guys, we've got her outside. We washed her up. Missed a spot right there, didn't I? Got her washed off, pretty cleaned up. Looking pretty good. Vacuumed out. Running good. Brakes are working good. She is up for sale. Fixed all the bends. This was the worst. So we did do called Phospho. It's a phosphate over all the rust. And I did some up here just sort of see what it would do. It does kind of make a white flaky mess on the rust, but it does neutralize the rust, turns it into an oxide coating that you can paint directly over. So we did do all our bin repairs, Phosphoed, and then we red oxide painted as well. This bin was the worst by far, completely gone, so we cut the whole floor out. Even this whole front was gone, so we put a tube in here in its place. You can see how much we end up having to shorten this bin up to get back to good steel. still a couple holes. I didn't patch every single hole. Just trying to make it solid to where it supports stuff. This one is the only one that's rusted through the bin and into this structural tube. The tube is still sound top and bottom, but it does have a hole in it right here, so getting a little rough on that one right there. Worst bin by far, for whatever reason, driver sides. Sometimes trucks are driver side worse, sometimes it's passenger side. This one isn't too bad down here, just some rust. This bin was in good shape. This bin we had to plate up in a couple places, a couple patches. But over here on the passenger side, this bin was in rough shape. We had to replate this outside significantly. You can see the doors got a hole in it. We refloored this entire bin as well. So sort of diagonal here, you have sort of worst. These structural tubes are still in great shape over here. This is really, basically it's a normal bin. So when they put these cranes on, they add extra plating. They add this plate up here on top. They add all this interior plating, some ribs, and they basically plate this thing up to make it a lot stronger to support the load of the crane. This bin was in good shape. We didn't really have to shorten that bin much, or this one. This one just needed some patchwork. This was the best bin by far. Holding a little bit of water and ice right there. Got a low spot. But probably stand to drill a hole and help that drain. We do have a drain hole back here that's still factory. And it's still thick. This steel's still good and thick. Back of this bin isn't all rusted up like the other for some reason. And we did redo this plate and this tube. This tube was all ruined. On the previous one was all ruined, so we put a new piece of tube in here. It had actually pushed up and crushed the bottom of the bin. So I had to rework. I built a new holder for this door out of a nut and a bolt. So we have got her back usable again. So she's got a couple more years of life left in her. It's a 2001. And we just rolled into 2025. So she's 24 years old. I don't think my fixes will get me another 24 years out of her, or get someone else another 24 years. But it'll definitely get them a couple. So hope you guys liked the video. If you do, give us a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel. Like, subscribe. More to come. Thanks.